Yeah,
Just
it's
something about that is really funny. And they ask him what's the question. He goes, I'd have to think about it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the 13th episode of the Audiobook Club podcast. My name is Jonathan, and I'll be hosting today's episode, and I'm joined by Michael, Stephen, and Jason. Do you want to say hello, guys?
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Sweet. And today we'll be covering The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is written by Douglas Adams and read by Stephen Fry. So, a quick summary of what the book's about. So it's a comedy science fiction novel. It was written in 1979, and it follows the misadventures of Arthur Dent, who is the last surviving man following the demolition of the Earth, and he and a group of characters who we'll talk about shortly go on basically an adventure and explore the galaxy. So why did I choose this book? Well, I chose it because I wanted to find out the meaning of life, and I heard this is the place to go. But really, I chose it because this is one of the most famous books of all time, definitely in recent history, in terms of recent pop culture, and I just kind of really like the combination of the sci-fi and comedy genres. I just feel like this is probably the book to go to for that. And for example, this there's not many books that can open with a massacre of billions of people and somehow it's funny. So that's just kind of the humor up my street. So yeah, that's why I chose this book. So obviously I'm sure my three co-hosts here have all seen or read this book before, but do you remember what like your first encounter of this book was like, and what you thought the first time round, and then compare with this time round, or any thoughts?
I can't really remember, but I think I saw the 2005 or 6. I can't remember which film first.
Five, 2005.
Or part of it, and I was like, this is a bit weird. And then I think it was when I first subscribed to Audible. It was free, and then loved everything about it. Read the next 2 books, I think, before something else caught my attention. But yeah, it's one that I come back to every couple of years, and enjoy it every single time, and do the same thing. I listen to the next 2 of the series, and then something else distracts me. So
you never finished it?
Yeah, I love it. What do you mean, the full series?
There's 5 of them, is there not?
I think, I think there's 5 or 6, but I get to the 3rd one, and there's something about it's too slow or something, and then I get distracted by more exciting things.
Fair.
Maybe I can talk about that a bit later.
Talk about that in about 2 years' time when we review the 3rd.
Yeah.
Well, I had already, I think I maybe touched on this, already listened to it. So I think I mentioned this in the last podcast episode, that I had actually just very recently listened to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, already in 2023. And I was not looking forward to my second listen of it just a few months later when you announced it. I'll not lie. Because I did not enjoy it one bit. Stephen recommended it to me.
Oh.
I gave it a go. But yeah.
Well.
We'll
definitely get more into that there. That could cause a stir.
I'm about to quit.
Michael?
Yeah, so Goodreads, the site Goodreads has this subsection called Listopia, and it's a lot of lists of different the best cozy mysteries, the best young adult books and stuff like that. And one of the lists is the best science fiction books. So the users vote for these. And I think Hitchhikers, I can't remember if it's that or Dune, which is top, but I think Hitchhikers is in the top 2 or 3 anyway. So I kind of was making my way through that list, just wanted to listen to like the classic science fiction books. So got to Hitchhikers, and I was not expecting a comedy book at all. And it really surprised me when I first listened to it, and kind of I just really, really liked the book, and I was really surprised by it the first time I read it. Fast forward a bit, listened to the audiobook when that came out, Stephen Fry narrating it, and I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying that, you know, I love this book, because I think I said that very early in our podcast. I think me and Stephen both said that we were looking forward to reviewing this one day. It's just it's an absolute classic.
You know what I find really funny about that Goodreads thing, where it's like top 2 of science fiction?
Yeah.
Because it is science fiction, but it's also like a parody of science fiction in ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
That it's like so highly rated, even though it's a parody. It's yeah.
Yeah. Because it's sort of making fun of science fiction tropes at the same time as.
But I think that also shows how well written it is, because you know it's poking fun at it, but also standing on its own in the genre as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, as I mentioned, when I was talking about why I chose it, like I really like this book. This was the second time, I think, when I only have been listening to audiobooks, so 4 years now. I think it was just before the whole COVID thing kicked off. I got my first subscription, and I think this was the second book after the first Harry Potter. This was the second audiobook that I got. And
had a really strong start.
Yeah, I was obviously
just riding the Stephen Fry train, were you?
Yeah.
You know, the programming language, I'd say a lot are like this, but the tutorials for it are like say you create like a table, and the table will be like filled with names of characters, or like the number 42 or things like that. So it'll like there's just references to this book everywhere, and like kind of any nerdy kind of topic, like
pop
like
culture.
Yeah. And I just think like the scientific stuff behind it was so interesting, like, and it's just, I think that's why the comedy goes so well with it, because you can kind of make that stuff as wacky as you want. Like their ship has like this probability engine and stuff like that, which we'll talk about more. But things like that, where it's, you know, it's got some kind of scientific backing, and then they just like kind of like let loose, and it's just ridiculous. This book, when I say a comedy, I would never say I laughed out loud at this book, but I definitely had a few internal chuckles. Like it's just one of them kind of things. It's just, you're just kind of reading it, you're just like, yeah, it's pretty funny.
I definitely physically laughed out loud a couple of times at this book at stages.
A few times, yeah.
Do you know what was funny? I watched the movie, which we'll talk about as well. I watched that today, and there's that scene, you know, whenever like I think the missiles get fired at them, and then the missiles turn on a sperm whale and like some basket of flowers. But like
I was hoping we would talk about that later, but that's my favorite scene in the entire book.
That's right. We'll come back to that, but just things like that, you know, where it's like it just turns on something wacky. I just
Is it your favorite because the whale ponders its existence?
I think it is, because like I think what I love about this book is that it's not nihilistic, but it's very existential, and it's not in a pessimistic way. It's kind of optimistic, but existential. It's kind of like joyful, but also like, as Jonathan was saying, it's not many books where you're just like the entire planet's wiped out and you're sitting there smiling because it's you're having such a fun time, you know. It's very unique kind of take on this subject matter, and I think the whale scene is a good like microcosm of that.
I think we're getting now on let's like dive a bit deeper. So the book basically kicks off with Arthur Dent, who's the main protagonist, and his house is about to be demolished because there's a road bypass supposed to be going through where his house is. and he essentially lies down in front of the bulldozer, and then his friend, I can't remember how many. It's a few years. I know he's been his friend for like 10 years or something like that. But his friend Ford Prefect arrives and says, "Here, we need to talk about something. Let's head to the pub." So he convinces Arthur to go to the pub with him and basically explains that the world's going to end. And he's actually an alien from a nearby planet, Betelgeuse, and there's basically this other alien species, the Vogons, that are about to come in and destroy Earth, to basically make a like a hyperspatial express route. So basically like a bypass, but like on a grand scale. Which I like this first part of it I find quite funny, because it's like, I think the funniest bit in it is like whenever they kind of say to Arthur, like, did you not go down to the planning office? The thing, the planning permission or whatever has been on display for like a year, and he's like, I had to go down to a basement to find it or whatever. It's not really been on display. And then the Vogons, when they finally arrive to destroy the Earth, they say basically the same thing. It's like, this thing's been in some other like galaxy for 50 years or something. Like, how have he's not seen it? If he's the one take the like be bothered to go and see it, then that's not our problem. So that's quite a funny opening to a book. And
yeah, that's why I think the comedy resonates so much with me too. It's like he's at one point he's like pointing. It's kind of biting if you go underneath the surface. It's like, look at how ridiculous bureaucracy is, and then at another point it's really funny and it's really ironic because it's the same thing happening on a larger scale.
Jason, do you have anything to add to this first bit? What do you think? Does it start here with your hate of this book, or are you okay at this minute?
I give it a chance at this stage, but yeah, it's not a great start for me.
Why?
I don't know. I really don't know. Because it makes no sense. Because I like Stephen Fry narrating other books, but for some reason, Stephen Fry's voice just annoys me in this book. I think everything just annoys me in this book.
That's blasphemy.
Apart from the whale scene.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
I didn't enjoy it. It's this opening scene. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Do you have anything positive? Probably.
That kind of says it all, I guess. Nothing says it all.
Every time I listen to it, I think, what would a hyperspace bypass be? Is it just like empty space that
It's like
light speed through?
Yes.
Think about hyperspace. You would be traveling
Or
so
hyperspace,
fast. You can't actually change your direction or nothing. You're going that fast. So there has to be
Like
clear,
like a wormhole.
like a clear path that you're not going to bang into anything. But that's from an actual scientific perspective. I don't know what they mean it to be in this. Is it just a place that's is like where all the traffic goes?
I don't even think he had a meaning for it. I think it's just supposed to be funny, like, comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially then, the Vogons come to the Earth, they basically announce we're about to destroy the planet, and Arthur and Ford basically have him revealed to Arthur that he's from an alien planet, is able to basically beam them up into the Vogon ship, and they essentially hitch a ride, hence why they're now essentially hitchhikers. So this is kind of where Ford, obviously Arthur's quite confused what's going on, so Arthur lends him the electronic guidebook, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and gives him this babelfish, which is essentially allows him to translate alien speech. So this is kind of where it starts to get techie and stuff like that, or like weird technologies and things like that. And I think then Ford mentions therefore that they can't, if they're found on the ship, because the Vogons hate hitchhikers, they're going to be ejected basically into space. So essentially that is exactly what happens, and I think it mentions that the survival is 30 seconds in space with a full lungs full of air. So if you take a big breath before you're ejected out, you can survive about 30 seconds. And then at the 29th second, they're picked up by the ship is called the Heart of Gold. So it does mention in the book that there's basically, I think, one chapter on the Heart of Gold is basically stolen by a guy, Safod Beeblebrox, who is the president of the galaxy, and he just steals this ship, and essentially the ship has got like a what's the name for it?
Infinite probability drive.
Yeah,
An engine.
an engine. The infinite improbability drive, which basically
Improbability, yeah.
is essentially why they get picked up like 1 second from about to be dying, and like, you know, obviously it mentions how big space is, and you know the probability that someone's going to actually, you know, fly through this part where they've been ejected into at the right time is very improbable, which is exactly why the ship, which runs with this infinite improbability drive, picks them up. But yeah, so this is essentially where we meet the rest of the characters, the main characters in the book. So Safod Beeblebrox, another human female called Trillian, and there's a robot, Marvin, the pressed robot. So what's your thoughts on this part of the book then? What do you think of the first introductions to the rest of the crew?
Poor Marvin.
Yeah, Marvin's quite sad, isn't he?
Just a bit sad.
Just a wee bit depressed.
I thought this part of the book was like, it was so fast paced, so frenetic, and it was just throwing so much all at once, but it just worked for me. I was really on board for the ride, and I always am with this book. It's funny that you know, they're drifting out in space and they're picked up by this ship by random, because that sort of breaks a lot of the rules of storytelling, where you want the protagonists to be proactive. You don't want these massive coincidences, but it does this thing like screenwriters refer to as lampshading, where when you point a thing out, how absurd it is or something, then you can actually use that. So the fact that they're pointing out that them being picked up is so improbable, but it's part of the plot. It's an actual plot point, and it adds to kind of the zaniness, is why I think it actually works in this book. And it's the reason why Douglas Adams can break so many rules in this, because he's just mastered what he's doing, kind of.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm reading this book or listening to it, I feel like this is like, you know, there's no rules, essentially. It's like you feel like there's rules, but there is no rules, really. Like it's just like it could take a turn anywhere.
Yeah, it's just a roller coaster kind of that you're on the ride for. I don't think like this kind of plot would really work for most stories, but I think it just does work for this book.
Yeah, the whole point of it is like that there's just a random machine that makes things randomly, and anything can happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is not good storytelling in most stories, but I would argue that it works for this book. The tone that's established and everything, and the themes of the book, it just feels like it fits and it feels right to me anyway. But I know, Jason, you did not find this
I think
a satisfying read.
I think the problem is that like the humor just doesn't hit for me from the off, and like the whole book is just one big long joke, and yeah, I just can never get into it. I guess twice now I've listened to it.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah.
Not a chance. And even like I know
the movie, Jay. It's even worse.
Michael was saying that the other day. But yeah, like I don't know, and even like I know the plot is very much, there's not much of a plot, but like I have listened to this book twice, and I would still need to look at something now to tell me what actually happened in this book.
It does really, like, I was just going to say, it does really hinge on you buying into the humour and just kind of being along for the ride. So I can completely see, if you're just not on board for that at all, why this book is a complete drag.
Yeah.
I have the same thing. It's like like, you know, there's a couple of books where I've had the same feeling where I haven't enjoyed them, and you just kind of find yourself like not really, like you can't follow it as well if you're not on it, and you just kind of like get lost a lot.
See, I think a part of the problem there is that it wasn't originally a book. It was this kind of eats into my trivia a wee bit, but
Me
it was
too, I've got that one too.
originally a
Radio.
radio play, right, for laughs. So it's not. I don't think it was written to have a super cohesive plot that loads of stuff happened.
It's sort of like Monty Python in that way, where that's like separate sketches stitched together. This is, if you like, these funny space antics stitched together as a plot.
It's funny you say that, because I was literally watching Monty Python before we started recording.
He knows.
And I think a lot of people have that issue with Monty Python that Jason said, where they don't really get that humor, and they don't buy into it, and watching it's just a drag for them. So it is a thing.
Yeah.
See, the movie I watched, like I said, I watched that today. I think the movie is actually, like, it's one of them movies, like, if I hadn't read the book, I would have been like, this is absolutely terrible. But, like, the movie's, like, so stupid that it's good.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many funny scenes. Like, I actually did laugh out loud a few times at the movie. Like, there's a scene when they're about to get, like, shot out of the air, like, shot into space. They, like, get put into the airlock, and then Arthur, who's played by Martin Freeman, basically says, we're going to die, aren't we? And Ford, like, turns around and sees, like, these buttons on this, like, wheel on the wall. He goes, hold on a minute, what's this over here? And starts pressing on. Nothing actually does anything. He's like, oh no, actually we're going to die. There's like things like that there. Like, there's such, like, stupid, like, jokes, but they just...
I think that is in the book as well, isn't it? Yeah.
As it, yeah, I couldn't remember if that was in the book, yeah. But just wee things like that. Like, it's a kind of wee, like... They're literally wee like, small jokes, but they're just... Yeah, I think those are what I actually, like love about this book. That he just, like, sprinkles these wee jokes in there.
I think those throwaway lines are the best. I can't remember the exact line, but there's something like... I think it's describing a ship or something, but it's like it hung in the air the way a brick wouldn't, or something like that. It's just, I find that so funny.
It's a perfect description, while also at the same time not describing at all what it's talking about.
Yeah.
So I think on the ship then, the Heart of Gold, so Seyfod Beeblebrox, again, the president of the galaxy and essentially the captain of the ship, basically sends this depressed robot Marvin. So this Marvin is a robot that's, like, super intelligent, and they tried to give it, like, a personality or something, whoever created it, the robot, and essentially it's, like, really depressed all the time. But he sends Marvin down to escort the hitchhikers up to the bridge and essentially introduce them to Seyfod, and then, as it turns out, that Arthur and Trillian, who are both from Earth, actually know each other. So I think Arthur basically tried to get with Trillian, who I can't remember the name or Earth name. I think Trillian's like a new name, isn't it?
Trisha McMillan.
Trisha McMillan, that's it, yeah. Yeah, so basically Arthur met her at a party, and it didn't, basically he failed at trying to get with her. Because this guy came in and essentially said, I have a spaceship. Yeah, basically came in and said, I have a spaceship, and she was just like, oh, sweet, I'll go with you. And obviously that was supposed to be interpreted as a joke, but this guy actually was Seyfod Beeblebrox, who did have a spaceship, and then obviously now here she is.
Thing is, though, he had a spaceship, but he's also, like, guaranteed shagger, like, so.
Oh, top shagger.
I like, yeah, and I think, like, it's like it's implying basically that Arthur's big character flaw is that he's not spontaneous.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Bilbo Baggins, like Martin Freeman character, where he's the kind of guy that doesn't want to go on adventures and finds himself on an adventure.
Yeah, I think they have a trope name for that. I think it's the reluctant hero.
It's Martin Freeman is the name.
Yeah,
it's always
Martin Freeman. It's renamed to Martin Freeman.
But here, I think too, they have the first mention of a food item, Michael, and you said you were going to try a food item. So did you happen to get yourself on any Pan-Galactic Gargle Blasters when you were out there earlier?
They have a few pints at the start, don't they?
I feel like we had a few at Lee's wedding. Like,
they did have a few pints, but
a
special food that's only ever mentioned in this book.
It's funny that you bring that up. I didn't have anything food-wise from this book, but I did happen to pick up a Hitchhiker. I walked to work listening to this book, and then when I got into the office, I went into the bathroom to pee, took off my coat, and there was a bee sitting on my shoulder. And I was like, holy crap, is that like a dead bee on my shoulder? And the bee started moving, and I like freaked out. And then the bee dropped to the floor. And I heard that like you're supposed to give bees sugar water when they're struggling. So I put it outside, I gave it some sugar water, and then it flew away. So that's my how I took this book on board into my
should
room.
have ejected that bee into space, Michael. That's what the
that bee used to be a sperm whale.
If you really followed the story of the book, you would have followed that bee back to its hive and obliterated the entire colony apart from one.
But yeah, that's how I practically loved this book this time, because I couldn't find a pan-galactic gargle
blaster.
blaster.
I think they say the description in the book is like it's like getting hit in your head with like a lemon like brick or something like that. It's something stupid like that.
Something about a gold brick guy.
It sounds amazing.
I was just like, yeah, that's like fucking Ray and Neffy or something. That's exactly what I'm
I'll have a bit of that.
None of that muck for me.
The next scene is that the Heart of Gold basically reaches its destination, which is the planet Magrathea. So the planet Magrathea is where other planets are built. So it's basically like wealthy customers will order a planet, and then some architects from this planet will build the planet for them. So once they get there, Magrathea sends out a message saying that they're closed for business, and then fires some missiles at the Heart of Gold. And I think the computer, this improbability engine, also kind of has like an AI system that speaks to them as well and says that the probability of you surviving this, or is it? Maybe it's Marvin that actually works at the probability. I can't remember, but the probability of surviving this these fired missiles is like very, very low. The chances of surviving it. So of course, then the improbability drive kicks in and does its magic, and then this is where we're introduced to the sperm whale, and I think the flowers are like petunias or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So I guess you just wanted to talk more about the sperm whale, so here's your chance now.
Best bit in the book.
Yeah. You didn't like this book and you say that, but I love this book and I still say that. It's my favorite part of the book. It's just it's such a divergence, but it's so funny. It's hard to describe. It's just,
I think it's the only bit that made me
so
laugh.
honest, and yeah, it's so innocent from the whale's point of view, and it's so like it feels very real to what a new experience would be, but it's like it's kind of under a kind of cynical way because we know what's going to happen to the whale. And it's just so hilarious. It's just this mix of so many things that are happening in that moment.
It's like fast paced, realizing what everything is, and that it's got like sentience and everything. And it used to be a missile and all this, and
it's like, oh well, I suppose I better start coming up with names of things and describing the wind and stuff like that. It's
he sees the ground. He's like, "Oh, hello, ground," and then just slats him.
He says, "I wonder if it'll be friends with me." And then
Nice.
And Stephen Fry's delivery of that bit is just absolutely on point.
Yeah, his delivery of that whole like spiel from the whale is class. And then at the end, you know how the plant's fallen as well, and it's like, oh, not again.
I know.
The plant says to itself.
I've actually got the quote here. It's like, curiously enough, the only thing that went through the mind of the bowl of petunias as it fell was, oh no, not again. Many people have speculated that if we knew exactly why the bowl of petunias had thought that, we would know a lot more about the nature of the universe than we do now.
Yeah, that's deep, like.
Yeah, it's stuff like that though that's why I really like the book. Like it's so stupid, right? But it's
Yeah.
but it's really like heartfelt at the same time and
Yeah.
funny as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's what I was kind of saying at the beginning. I think like so many things that take on like the subject matter of like existentialism within the universe are quite cynical, but this does feel warm-hearted and from a good place while still being a bit biting and a bit mean.
Yeah,
But it feels like it earns the meanness, if that makes sense.
yeah, it does.
Perfect. Yeah, so at this stage, there's just a little kind of foreshadowing on the book where Trillian's pet mice, Benji and Frankie, escape from the cage. We'll talk about more about what's going on there, but you do like at least get like this kind of line in the book, and like obviously the first time I read this or listened to it, I you just kind of thought again this might just be another random thing that's happening, but of course this is actually a bit of something's going on. And then after that, they actually go on onto the planet Magathea after they survive the missile encounter, and Seyfod, Trillian, and Ford explore the planet's tunnels, and Marvin and Arthur stay to guard the entrance. And while he's guarding the entrance, Arthur encounters like an elderly native of the planet who introduces himself as Slurdy Bartfast, which is a very interesting name. Like I don't know if like it's probably hard to convey this in the book, but in the movie version, they it seems like he just like made that name up, like rather than I wasn't sure if he was making it up, like he was just trying to think of what to call himself, or was he embarrassed that this was his name? It was hard to tell, but yeah. So he encounters Slurdy Bartfast, and he basically tells him that the population of the planet's not actually dead, but they're sleeping. Because until the economy is improved, I think it goes on basically to say anytime the economy goes down and no one can afford to pay for a planet, which I'm sure costs a pretty penny, these people go into hibernation until the economy recovers. Doesn't sound like a bad idea. But basically they're now engaged in building a second Earth, which has been commissioned by mice, which are actually like hyper intelligent pan-dimensional beings. So it turned like I think there's a funny bit here where he's like, Arthur's like, what mice? Like mice, like the wee rat or the wee what would be the word for them, like rodents and stuff that like run about. And he's like, yeah, they've been sitting on there for years and like running tests on humans, and then he's kind of like, oh no, we were the ones running testing on them, and then like they kind of go through the actual tests. And then Arthur realizes that it was actually the humans that were under observation and not the mice, which I thought was again another quite funny part of this.
Yeah.
I love that, yeah. And Slurdy Bartfast when he says like, such subtlety or something,
Yeah. Because it weirdly does kind of make sense what he's saying.
The book opens too with like, it's like humans are the third most intelligent, dolphins are the second, and the dolphins basically were trying to warn the humans of what's going to happen, but the humans mistook it for them trying to like do tricks and stuff like that, and they basically like left the planet and said thanks for the fish. Things like that.
That's sort of funny.
Which is the title of the fourth book.
Yeah. The movie starts off with that, doesn't it? Like it's like
the dolphins ascending. The top quote on Goodreads, the top voted quote is about the dolphins as well. The one that it's like, for instance, on the planet Earth, man had always assumed that he was more intelligent than dolphins because he had achieved so much. The whale, New York, wars, and so on. Whilst all the dolphins had ever done was muck about in the water having a good time. But conversely, the dolphins had always believed that they were far more intelligent than man for precisely the same reasons. So that's the top quote.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. So the planet builders have built like a supercomputer, Deep Thought, which is basically supposed to be the most powerful computer in the universe at that moment, at the moment it was built in the past, whenever they did first construct it, and they basically ask it the question, what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. and it says that it's going to take 7.5 million years to compute the answer. And then so that was 7.5 million years ago, and then like I think it's like a video or something he shows them, or like a clip from what happens, and then they wait the 7.5 million years, and then the computer declares that the answer is 42, which is a very famous kind of like reference to the number 42.
It's pub quiz answer, like.
Which I said there, it's like basically all over those tutorials and stuff in programming. You see this number.
Mm-hmm.
It's in all sort. It's a trivia all across like science fiction and stuff as well.
Yeah.
It just crops up everywhere.
Very famous number. And then obviously they're like, what's why 42? Like what's, and the computer basically says that that's the answer, but you haven't asked the right question. You need to ask what is the question that gives the answer 42. And I think it says it can't answer it, but it can build a computer far more powerful than itself to answer the question. And that computer turns out to be the Earth, which had just been destroyed by the Vogons, just as it was about to complete this calculation. So what did you think? Oh, that's kind of a lot of information there. What did you think about this whole like meeting the world builders?
What I find really funny is that Deep Thought has to, he spends millions of years or whatever thinking of the the answer, but he doesn't know the question. Just something about that is really funny. And they ask him what's the question, and he goes, I'll have to think about it. And then he just, another millions of years go by until they build the computer. Yeah. It's really funny.
Yeah, I agree with Stephen. Basically, for the same things, the same reasons, kind of why I love this part. The iconic 42 and all that. It makes me smile every time I listen or read to it. It's that whole flashback. I say flashback. The whole video that Slarty Barfast shows Arthur. I really like that whole chapter. Just everything from start to finish is really funny. The whole thing where the mice. I say mice. I don't think they're mice in the video, because they're like pan-dimensional beings or something. But their names and stuff, like what was their names, Lunkwill and Folk, which is they're supposed to be sound sort of rude, like bad words. What did you think of this part of the book, Jason? I'm eager to hear more opposing thoughts.
I mean, I had known about the answer being 42. I'd like to have a little fun guess in my head both times as he's about to say the answer and be like, which number is it again? And try to remember before he said it. That was about as much fun as I had with the scene.
Hi, do you just want to know we're actually on minute 42 as we record this?
We are.
Oh my god.
42.
It is the answer then.
I think I actually said that on 42.
Sorry to interrupt your thought on that. I just had to point that out.
You're okay. But yeah, I don't know. It to me at least feels like part of a story is going on, at least with the mice and everything at this stage.
Is that your big issue with the book then? It's like it's not really a story, it's not cohesive, and it's
just quite nonsensical.
You're a serious man.
Serious man.
Always thought that, Jay.
I'm very serious.
Well, that's like the exact thing, Michael, you just quoted about the dolphins. Like the exact reasons that Jason hates the book is exactly why we love it.
Yeah. For precisely the same reason.
Yeah, so now coming towards the end of the book, Slarty Barfast brings Arthur to meet the mice who commissioned the building of the Earth in the first place. And they proved to be Benji and Frankie, who were the two mice that Trillian had. And essentially, because Arthur had lived on the planet Earth, Seafood and Ford suggest that Arthur might have some ideas about the question, as his brain, is an organic part of the Earth. But the two mice want to essentially buy Arthur's brain and chop it up to look for their answer. So I think they're on about like first of all, you don't, he doesn't actually know that they want the full brain. They like cut it open and stuff. I think they just want, he thinks it's like a brain scan or something like that. And then like they kind of come to the realization it's like, yeah, we want to buy your brain like and stuff. So obviously Arthur's not happy about that, and Arthur forwards Aphod and Trullian. Essentially the mice try to take it by force, and the crew are saved by the arrival of the Galactic Police, who are actually there to arrest Aphod because he was the one, he stole the Heart of Gold. And Marvin, the press robot, who's like running the ship and the life systems, essentially commits suicide. So I thought this is, it's kind of funny. Like this officer's book was written in 1979. So it's like they kind of like make jokes about like depression and suicide in this book.
Yeah.
Obviously nowadays it's far more of an issue probably than it was then. So I don't know if you would get this kind of thing in, but I mean, it's still quite like a funny way to do it, like, because it's just this, the robot's obviously a robot, which again you could go into the argument as whether or not it's like sentient or whatever, but whether committing suicide for it matters because it's just a robot anyway. They can probably reboot it back up or whatever. But yeah, because he essentially commits suicide, and then the travelers are able to escape, and they head towards the restaurant at the end of the universe, which is essentially the end of the book, and that's actually the title of the next book. But what did you think then about the ending?
The whole thing about Marvin is really funny, and it shouldn't be. But the fact that he's so boring, that, what is it, like the police ship blows itself up, yeah, because he's so boring and plugged himself in. I love that.
Yeah, I love this part of the book as well. It's like, yeah, Marvin, as he's got the Eeyore syndrome, where his entire character is his depression, basically. I love the reveal of the mice and the interrogation with Arthur, and then their solution to the great question is the Bob Dylan song, "How many roads must a man walk down?"
That's right.
Didn't pick up on that actually.
He's all, will it work? And then he's like, well, it'll get us, it'll buy us some time anyway.
It sounds good.
It sounds good.
It sounds, yeah. Yeah, but I thought it was a great ending to tie everything together.
Tie the whole cohesive plot together. Isn't that right, Jason?
Oh yeah, so cohesive. Yep. So easy to keep track of.
Was your favourite part about the ending the fact that it was over, Jason? Is it?
A wee bit. Not gonna
You
lie.
don't have to suffer anymore.
Like, genuinely, the first time I listened to it, I was like, well, I'll never do that again.
2 months later.
I genuinely, about 2-3 months later.
Oh.
But yeah, now I get to talk about it.
I suppose you get to vent all your hatred for it. I know that's what the podcast's all about.
I don't want to just sit here and slide the entire time, but yeah, I feel like I'm doing nothing but.
Well, that's your right. We've all done it, except for Michael.
Michael loves all the books. Like, he just loves.
He
books.
loves all the books.
Yeah. I've been on record as saying that.
Well, I think that's essentially took us to the end of the review. So I guess we can jump into what's the actual good stuff here and what the rating, our star rating is. So I'll go to Michael first. We'll maybe save Jason for last because I'm interested.
Well, I think anybody could probably predict what my rating is going to be, but just to summarize, I absolutely love this book. It's one of my all-time favorites. This is like the 6th time I think that I've read or listened to this, and every time I come back to it, it gets better. I appreciate it more every time I come back to it. It's just wearing a big smile on my face while I'm listening to it, almost where I have to hide my face in public because I'm just smiling at this book. But the characters, they're so good. They're so zany, and everything is, the humor just lands for me. All of it. It's so good. It's just right up my street. So I would 100% give this 5 stars. And Stephen Fry's narration. It's just, we've already discussed Stephen Fry, how he's the best ever. It's I have nothing really to
Jared
add
Reynolds
to
is
that.
pretty good too.
Yeah, he's just he's incredible in this book as well as he is in the Harry Potter series. He's probably even better in this book than he is in the Harry Potter series, I would nearly say. So 5 stars for that as well.
I think I'd have to agree with a lot of what Michael said, and I'm definitely going to just straight out of the gate give 5 stars. Same as Michael. Every time I come back to the book, I love it more and more. I don't think it's been 6 times, maybe 3-4 times I've listened to it. But I love it every time. I've recommended it to a good number of people, including Jason. Sorry, Jason.
That's okay, Steve. You're forgiven.
Let me see. The characters are all really funny, and even though it's such a short book, I think they're really well fleshed out. You can get a sense for all of their personalities. Even though, even like tiny minor characters like the Vogon guy, you kind of get his whole deal. He loves poetry and he's a hyper bureaucrat and all this area. I mean, just everything about it. I guess it could have more plot, but that's in a slightly uncharacteristic way for me. I kind of like that it doesn't really have much of a plot, and that it's just everything's done for laughs, and it doesn't have to make sense.
Positive for Johnny is that there's no B plot going on as well. So.
Yeah.
I hate B plots.
There is a B plot.
There's barely an A plot.
Slurry Bartfast rebuilding the earth and making Norway or whatever he was.
Yes. He said he won an award for designing Norway.
Yeah, that's the B plot.
Terrible.
So what's your rating then, Stephen?
5.
5.
Easy.
And Stephen Fry's narration, Stephen, what do you think about that?
Oh, it's still a 5, 100%. I don't think it's as good as the Harry Potter's. Maybe better than 1 or 2 of them, but overall, I would say he's better than Harry Potter.
Yeah.
One thing, just while we're talking about Stephen Fry as a narrator, I think that's what pulls down the sequel books for me, is because he doesn't do it. Martin Freeman does the rest of them, and he's pretty good as well. But it's obviously not to the same level, and he gives Zaphod a really like jarring American accent, and I hate it.
Yeah, it's a tough act to follow, Stephen Fry.
Yeah, I know, but
I would not want to do that.
He did well.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, there's nothing that you two haven't said. I agree with everything. So I'll just be quick about it and say that mine's is a 5 as well, for the exact same reasons. Obviously Stephen Fry, we've talked about him many times, and I just saw all the characters. Like, I like that there wasn't there's only a wee handful of characters, but yeah, each one was like very unique and different. And like, I love like Zaphod, like how he's like, do you know who he reminds me of? From Futurama. What do you call him?
Zap Brannigan.
Zap Brannigan.
Zap Brannigan. Yeah, he's very like that kind of attitude, or he thinks he is the man. Like, he's just, that's who you remind me. Like, so I loved his character, and Stephen Fry, just like, again, the voice that he did for him was again another reminder to remind me of Zap Brannigan.
You're a real cool boy, you.
And like the Arthur Dent character, is just the Martin Freeman was great casting for that movie. The only thing I didn't like about the movie was they play a bit more on his relationship with Trillian. Obviously that's just a movie Hollywood thing. They always have like a love kind of interest.
I wanted to talk about that too when we bring it up again on other media. I have opinions on that too.
Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't too much in the book, because that would have probably ruined it a wee bit for me. 5 for me. So I'll pass it over to Jason. Sharon, what do you think?
1 star. I did not have a fun time. I don't understand how a 5-hour book can take me so long to finish. I don't understand how I don't enjoy the humour, because I would probably argue that it should be very much up my street.
That's yeah. I mean, when I recommended it to you, I was like, "Oh, he'll love this." This is the kind of
I love nonsense.
jokes he makes all the time.
Exactly, I love it.
But no.
Johnny, how much crap did we watch at uni that was just nonsense? It just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. But it just doesn't land. As I said previously,
maybe it's because of how improbable it is that you wouldn't like it.
Oh, it must be.
Oh,
Must be.
Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, I really like Stephen Fry in other books. I mentioned this already, but he just grates me in this. I don't know. Must just be the characters. But Christ, not for me. 1 star, and that 1 star is mostly due to the whale.
The whale should have at least been a 5-star on its own, to be fair. So
yeah.
I thought about giving it
The
a
whale and
1.5.
Marvin.
But
I just want to acknowledge that had we still been a Free People podcast, that would have been our second perfect book of the podcast. But Jason spoiled the buzz.
shit, man.
ruins it.
He ruined it.
Ah, well.
No, but I'm glad that the humans is still the sacred cow that we will forever chase.
Which I
Jason,
have.
what did you think of the humans? Would you give it a
It's
5?
funny that you mentioned that, because when I first started listening to Humans, like obviously after I listened to Humans before I listened to the podcast episode, and the first sort of hour or two of the Humans, I was like, oh my god, this is just going to be like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy again. I think it was just the way he was going on. I think it was just the way that the characters going on. I was like, oh my god, and this book's longer. I was like, I can't do it. But I did. I powered through, and I really enjoyed it. I think I probably would give it a 5 as well, actually.
Okay.
Nice.
But it was also a couple months ago since I listened, so don't ask me exactly what happened.
Cool. So that's the star ratings then. Jason's address is what do you want? comparisons to other media then. So I've already mentioned a number of times that I just watched. It's just because the movie's so fresh in my head because I watched it today. That's why I've mentioned it a lot. But I think, Stephen, part of your trivia and what you mentioned was that this was originally a radio comedy broadcast on BBC Radio 4. And there's also been stage shows, comic books. There was also a 1981 TV series and a 1984 text-based video game, which I'd love to play that game. That'll be interesting. And then, of course, the 2005 film. I was looking at the film because you never hear
2004 radio drama as well.
Oh, right. You never hear too much about the film. And I was looking at the cast is madness. Martin Freeman, Zooey Deschanel, Alan Rickman does the voice for Marvin, and Bill Nye
Stephen Fry is narrating during it as well.
Stephen Fry is the voice of the book and narrating. So I was like, geez, how's this film not really popular? And then of course I watched it and was like the day was their budget £100 or something? It's ridiculous.
Can I talk about the film too, because I watched it recently-ish. I watched it after I read it for this podcast. And I did not like the film at all. I thought it was really bad. I thought the casting of Martin Freeman was probably the only good point. I thought I love Zooey Deschanel, but I thought she was bad in this movie. I really love her as an actor, but yeah, I thought she was pretty bad in this movie, and I thought most of them were bad in this movie, and it was badly made, and the jokes didn't land, and it sort of helped me see where Jason's coming from, because
I love the movie.
You what?
No, I just wanted to see what you said.
What did you?
It's my favourite movie.
No, I've never seen it.
10 out of 10.
But at least it brought the whale to life. You got to really love that and actually see the whale.
I haven't actually
seen
seen the movie myself. I'll maybe watch the whale scene.
See, I don't think it translates well enough to a movie format.Maybe a TV show was better, to be honest.
I think they should do if they did something now. I think it would be good. I just feel like that was maybe they just don't pump enough under that. I feel like that could be a big blockbuster movie, and they just didn't go for that. But for example, the special effects, the Vogons and that were absolutely ridiculous looking. There is just
It felt like it felt like a BBC movie. I don't know if it was actually a BBC movie, but it felt like one.
could have been, I guess, if it started on BBC, then they might have done a movie. And like Martin Freeman stuff, because wasn't he like on The Office at that time as well?
Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
So,
aye.
yeah, but yeah, that's I don't know if do you have any other things did you any of you, like watch the 1981 TV series or read any of the comic books or anything?
No, but I want to. I just don't know where I would find it. I haven't looked, to be honest. It's probably on iPlayer or something, but
Okay, it's probably readily available, like, but
I do want to see it. But I don't know, because if you've ever watched any TV, like any sort of drama TV from that era, it's really hard to watch. Like the sets and everything, it's just hard to sit through.
yeah, comparisons to other media. Then the only other thing is, of course, there's, I think, Jason, you say there's 5 books altogether.
I think there's
So it's
5 written by
or
Douglas. Is it Adams?
Douglas Adams, yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
think
think I've seen there's a
he
6th one
wrote,
written by someone else or something. Yeah.
he wrote the first 5, I think, and then he died, and I think his son or somebody might have taken, like, you know,
His
some stuff he'd
manuscript or
written, and did a bit more. But I don't quote me on that.
yeah. I think something that happened with June, something similar happened with June as well.
Yeah.
I've never read any other ones. I'd definitely be interested in. Like I'd say, obviously,
Yeah,
this one's
same.
the most
The
famous.
second one
because
I would
it's-
say is I prefer the second one.
That's what I was kind of hoping for. I was like, is it worth reading them? Because obviously this first one is the one that's most widely known. Is that because it's just by far the best, and the rest are just like, or is it just because it was the first one and that's why it got the most attention? But the other ones actually are still quite good.
Now the second one, the narration, as I said, isn't as good. It's still good, but it's not as good. But the actual like plot, I think, is better. So Jason, you might like the second one better, but
Yeah.
maybe give it a miss.
Maybe.
Eh?
I mean, I also don't enjoy Stephen Fry as the narrator of the first one, so maybe.
Yeah.
Because it changes, as like Stephen said. So yeah, maybe you might like it more. We might cover it in another future episode.
I enjoyed this so much as like a standalone too that I'm kind of afraid to continue the series.
Yeah. See, as I said at the start, like I've tried to listen. I own them all the audiobooks, but I only ever get to the third one, and I'm not sure if I've ever finished it. I think the second one is really good. It's probably, as I said, my favorite one. I think the third one starts really, really slow, and then I don't know. I can't even tell you where I fall off because I forget because yeah, it doesn't hold the interest. But I would say it's definitely worth checking the second one out. Anyway.
Well,
Second Hitchhiker.
future episode.
Yeah, could be covered on a podcast near you soon.
Who's going to do the
Sorry,
first sequel?
Jason's recommendation.
No, Jason's going to pick it out.
Who-
Jason, do you want to change your recommendation?
He's just a serious masochist. He just loves abusing himself.
Okay, so that's. I think that's. You don't have any other comparisons to other medias or anything?
Well, the one that always I stand out, and it might be because it's also silly science fiction like series that was on the BBC is Doctor Who. It gives off a lot of the same vibes. If you've ever watched that,
Yeah,
think
I watched
I read that
Like,
Douglas
think-
Adams wrote some of Doctor Who
maybe that's obviously why. Then.
and also Monty Python.
But you know, it's the same sort of thing. You know, it's almost like a parody of science fiction, but it's still good science fiction at the same time. There's a lot of silly things that happen in it, and you just have to like learn to roll with it and accept that things aren't going to be are going to be really silly or childish or whatever.
Red Dwarf is also of that ilk.
That's
I would
Red
say
Dwarf's
if you-
awesome, Michael.
what I thought you were going
Yeah,
to say,
I love
Steve.
that book as well. Yeah,
The TV show is top notch science fiction. I'm just saying.
yeah. So if you enjoyed this book, check out Red Dwarf TV show or book.
Both.
No.
Both.
Check them both out at the same time.
At the same time. Okay, so we'll move on to trivia. I only have 2 things, so I'll go with mine first, just before anyone steals them. So the title, basically Adam says that it came from a 1971 incident when he was hitchhiking around Europe as a young man with a copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to Europe. And then while he was lying drunk in a field with a copy of the book, he was looking up at the stars, and he thought it would be a good idea for someone to write a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as well. Obviously, you would have to be drunk for that because, unless you're Elon Musk, I don't know why you would need that book yet.
He was also frantically depressed. Just to insert there, that was one of my trivias as well.
Is that where the Marvin came from then?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So Marvin is Douglas Adams.
Yeah.
Highly intelligent but depressed. And then I was just looking up. I wanted to know. I was thinking, because obviously this book's so popular, and I was looking up how many copies it sold, the estimate, and it was 14 million, which obviously is a lot, but it's not as many as I thought. It wouldn't even be in the top 100 best-selling books ever, or fiction books. So I thought that was a bit surprising for me. I thought this would have done a lot better than that, but I guess it does only really appeal to certain circles. It's a big book in where the stuff that I work in, and Stephen, you work in our kind of areas and things we're interested in, fantasy and stuff, and obviously Michael and Jason are interested in that too. But I guess outside that, maybe people couldn't give two F's about this book. Do you know what I mean? So,
but again, though, you have to remember that it was a radio play. So in the 70s, that would have been huge, I imagine. So even though there's only 14 million book copies sold, I bet you the numbers for the radio are huge, astronomical. Probably.
I suppose there's probably a lot of people who've watched the movie as well who have never read the book. Like me, before I started listening to audiobooks, I would have seen a lot of movies that were based on books, but I'd never read the book. I'd say there's probably a lot of people like that too who are just content with watching the movie, and because the movie was quite terrible, they were like, you know what, I'm never reading that book. But yeah, that's my trivia. So who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. One part of the book that we didn't talk about at all, and I'm kind of annoyed that we didn't, is about towels. So as every good hitchhiker knows, the most important item to have with you at all times is your towel. For various reasons, it can keep you warm, it can clean up messes, you can wet it and use it in hand-to-hand combat. I think that's a direct quote. But
and then if it's still clean at the end, you can dry yourself with it.
You can dry yourself with it, yeah. You can. This comes up in the second book, I think, but you can dip it into food, and then you have a nice snack as well. You can just suck on the end of it. So yeah, but so a towel features heavily in the book, and when they're fleeing Earth, what do you call him, Ford, makes sure Arthur has a towel with him. And he's like, what do I need a towel for? Is it mad? And it's just another piece of the whole craziness behind the book, But the inspiration for the towel comes again from that trip that Douglas Adams was taking around Europe. And apparently, his friends would have to wait on him all the time, when they were going places, because he couldn't find his towel. So I like that as a little insert that he put in. But also, so that town that Johnny was talking about, where he came up with the idea for the book, every year on the 25th of May, they celebrate Towel Day, where everybody in the town walks around with a towel.
Can we go?
And yeah, it's a town in Austria called Innsbruck, and that's where he came up with the book.
Right.
Let's go.
Perhaps we should go.
I only go to the Towel Day festival. It sounds mental.
So it's a good crack, eh? Let me see what else. Arthur's name was originally Alric, and he changed it on the way to the BBC to pitch the series in the taxi. So, he was lastminute.com.
Yeah.
We talked about it being on the radio about a million times. But my favourite bit of trivia is so there's a part in the book called where they talk about the Great Collapsing Hurung disaster, and this was some cataclysmic event that happened on Betelgeuse, which is the planet that Zaphod and Ford are from. So we don't know what the Great Collapse and Hurrung Disaster actually was, but just that it destroyed the planet. And the thing is, in our real universe, the star Betelgeuse actually exists and is the inspiration for the planet in the book and the accompanying star. And a couple of years ago, it was noticed that the star Betelgeuse started dimming. Right, like it was observed that it started to it wasn't as bright or whatever. And when it was analysed, it was suggested that it could explode any time between now and 100,000 years from now. But in light years, that's anywhere from between the 14th to the 23rd century. So maybe the Great Collapse and Hurrung Disaster actually happened. And that fucking weird.
I like that.
Mad.
It's a good find, Stephen.
How about that?
That is mental.
It is. It's madness.
Absolutely mental. Like, it's just mental that like a sun in a nearby galaxy could explode at any moment. It could actually have already exploded 100 years ago, and the supernova is on its way to wipe us out. Mental.
You're
Anyway,
right.
Class.
Fascinating.
Do you have any more, or does Michael or Jason, do you have any?
Nah, I did too much talking there.
No.
I just wanted to say that I know this book inspired a lot of art. One of my favorite things that it inspired is the album OK Computer by Radiohead. There's, I think if I looked on the Wikipedia, I saw that the name for the album came from them listening to the audiobook of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and there's a song on there, Paranoid Android, and I think there is a reference to paranoid androids in the book as well.
Yeah, Marvin.
Marvin.
Marvin is the paranoid android. That's his full title.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I think this was the first album I ever bought, and it's still one of my favorites. So it's pretty cool that it was.
Some good did come out of this
inspired
book.
by this book.
Funny you brought that up because I listened to that album yesterday.
It's
Really?
I've been going through
I'm
a lot
looking
of
at the
albums and just listening to them.
looking at the cover for a minute, and I was like, what's the reference? And I realised it's a bypass.
Did you have anything, Jason?
No trivia for me. Only enough.
Only hate and anger. So which characters do you think we would identify with? Do you think Jason would be Marvin?
Easy.
Aye. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's how I felt anyways.
Okay, so that's essentially the book covered.
I want. Can I be the whale?
You can be the way, Michael.
Actually, can't change my answer.
We'll go.
I was the police car that Marvin was talking to. That's how I felt reading this book.
Jason is Ford and or Arthur while the Vogon's doing poetry. Adam.
And their poetry is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Their poetry is only the third worst, but so what's Jason's first and second worst thing that I would hear?
The
next sequel.
I dread that day.
Yeah, okay, so I'll move on now to what else we're consuming. So we'll start with you, Jason, since you don't have much to say here now. So what else are you doing? What are you listening to? What are you watching?
What have I been doing? I've been playing a lot of Zelda in my free time. The
new one?
newest one, yeah.
The new one?
Really good.
Oh.
Really good.
You kept that quiet.
I know, I think I was in the middle of playing Star Wars when it came out, and then, like I do with most things, I say, no, I'm not getting it. And then the day later I buy it. Because I'm terrible. I have no ability to not just throw money at things. So yeah, playing a lot of Zelda. Enjoying it. Haven't played it as much recently, but we've just been quite busy. Last couple of weeks was at London, and then I was back home also with you guys last week. So I haven't touched it much recently. Apart from that, I've just been watching a bit of Secret Wars, that new Marvel TV show. Secret Invasion, sorry.
Is it any good?
I'm enjoying it. I see a lot of people slagging it online, but I haven't watched the newest episode. But I think it's good. I've enjoyed most of the Marvel TV shows. Like, they're not groundbreaking, but they're fine. They're entertaining. I think that's about it, really.
Stephen?
Let me think. So I'm playing a lot of XCOM, XCOM 2. If you've ever heard of that, it's like a
It's a big
sci-fi
alien, isn't it?
strategy game.
Yeah.
It's for people that hate themselves because it's like really really hard. I'm playing it on Iron Man mode as well, so if any of your characters die, they're dead forever and you can't like reload. So I really hate myself, but it's really really fun. It's the sort of genre that I really like to play, like the strategy game where you've got like a squad of people, and you have to. It's like turn based. That's kind of my jam at the minute. TV wise, me and Sarah are watching Better Call Saul again. So it's nice to see her like first viewing of that. But again, it's nice for me as well. I think what else? I'm listening through all the Red Rising series again for like the millionth time because there's a new book coming out in 2 weeks.
I was going to say.
So
The
I'm gonna get caught up on that.
the length of that new book, Stephen, I don't think it's been updated yet.
No, it's not, but it's confirmed by the Jared Reynolds and also Pierce Brown that's temporary.
Okay, that's good.
So yeah, I'm getting geared up for that. I'm currently on Iron Gold, and I'm like 10 hours in, and it's definitely the hardest audiobook to get through of the 5.
Is it the 4th?
That's the 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know all about that. That's it.
Struggle through that myself.
It's the one that I like the book, but it's the one that I struggle with because of certain POVs.
Yeah, there's a lot of new characters.
Two of the new characters are a bit hard to listen to. Anyway, what else? I feel like there was something else that I've been doing. Come back to me. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, I'm rewatching all the Indiana Jones as well.
I've been doing
in
that.
preparation for our trip to the. Hey,
I've been doing that as well, actually.
nice.
Sorry.
Which one are you on?
I watched last weekend. I watched Temple of Doom. Second one.
Second one.
I actually don't think I've seen the third or fourth one before, to be honest.
Last Crusade's the best one. Don't watch the fourth one. It doesn't
Fourth
exist.
one's just like a kind of a revival almost, even though this one is
Doesn't
another
exist.
revival.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things.
Shia LaBeouf's in it there. That's all you have. That's all I have to say. But yeah, so I'm watching through all those again because we're going to go see the new one soon. I'm going to watch Last Crusade probably after we end the call here. But that's the best one. So if you're in for a treat, Jay,
I was
if you put that
I was considering watching it myself after this call. I'll let you know.
Do you want do we do a watch along?
Could do.
Why don't you just continue on this Discord and just do a wee watch?
We just do a watch along.
Maybe.
Look.
Potentially.
Do all your sound
Potentially.
effects.
Sean
like
Connery's in
crazy.
it, and he's class as always. Sean Connery. But yeah,
You could record a, what do you call it? Commentary?
Stephen
Yeah.
Jason's reactions to the third Indiana Jones.
I'm so startled.
But yeah, I think that's everything for me.
Michael?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of TV and movies, TV shows. I finished, finally finished The Last of Us. Finished Wednesday. Finished the new season of Black Mirror.
Oh, Black Mirror as well. Yeah, we watched all of those.
And what
Yeah,
did you think of The Last of Us?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm trying to think back now.
Spoilers, I haven't watched it all yet, so
You haven't
don't say
watched
I'm
it?
spoiling.
Yeah, I thought it was solid. What did you think?
I loved it. Have you watched any of it, Johnny?
Me and Dan started it, but sure you know what he's like.
Well, how many episodes have you watched?
Like halfway. Like, what is there, 8? So 4 maybe, or if there's 10, there's 5, I don't know.
I've
I think I got about
Thank you.
halfway.
Episode
as well.
3 is my
And then
favourite.
Sarah don't want to watch it anymore.
With the
It's what?
episode 3 is my favourite.
Is
Yeah,
that the one way
Was Nick Offerman
what do you call him?
and Murray Bartlett.
I was going to just say, is it Ron from Parks and Rec?
Beautiful TV.
That caused a lot of controversy online, but I also thought it was a great episode.
What was the controversy? Because was it not like the game or something?
It is in the game, actually. It's a bit heavily hinted at in the game, but yeah, it's because it's a gay relationship, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah.
In the game, it's only hinted at.
The baby boomers in my office didn't like that episode.
I openly sobbed in the last 20 minutes of that episode.
It was a great episode.
That was beautiful.
Movies. I watched Avatar. Thought it was pretty good. I watched Bullet Train. That was a big surprise. I loved that movie. I absolutely loved it.
I've heard really good things about it.
It's good crack.
Go back to Avatar, real quick. Was it as good as the first one?
It's better than the first one, I think.
Better than the first one.
I thought it was just the same story. It was good, but it was just more or less the same story again.
I thought it was better. It was more thematic. Like I think it had more of an emotional core than the first one.
I still hold that the first one was only so popular because of the 3D.
That was like one of the
I don't
first.
care what anybody says.
James Cameron too. Anything he touches just makes fucking billions.
Nah.
I watched Wakanda Forever, which I hated. I really hated.
Wow.
Scott
You
Bad.
hated
It's so boring.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like it at all.
Shocked by that.
I watched Hitchhikers, which I also hated. I watched Black Adam, which I actually thought was okay. Which I know that got panned really bad in reviews, but I thought I had some fun with it.
Didn't that get panned because The Rock was like, "No, I want him to be a hero," and he's not a hero or something?
Yeah,
That didn't work?
that is a cop out. I hate that they always do that, where the villain, the story arc for the villain is always that they're an anti-hero. They're just afraid to just lean into it. Apart from Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, where they do lean into the villain now, but for most they make the villain an anti-hero. If you look at Venom or any of the Sony,
I didn't watch that mock,
villain
Michael,
movies.
and I will not watch that mock.
Yeah, but I quite enjoyed Venom too. I thought it was a crazy movie, but it was fun. My big issue with Wakanda Forever, I just thought it was boring, and it was way too long. And at least Black Adam, it was sort of fun.
Do you know, like you just mentioned Joaquin Phoenix? Did you see there's going to be in that new film Napoleon?
I saw something about it on Reddit. I didn't click it though.
But he's got like the same like kind of, the wee kind of crown the Emperor of Rome wears. So there's like a comparison between him and the gladiator scene. But yeah, it looks like something I'd really enjoy anyway about like Napoleon. But just the fact that he is playing Napoleon as well just makes it so much. Like I'll definitely go see that. Like,
yeah, that's about it. I've read a lot of books as well, but
that's a given.
Too many to even go on.
And you started about 50 podcasts.
It's been like a month since we last recorded or whatever. So Michael's read at least 50 books.
And started 10 podcasts. Here, just quickly before I forget, did you hear that there's a new Willy Wonka film coming out?
Yeah.
Jesus, is there?
Oh yeah.
Trailer's awful.
This year? It's a prequel though.
Yeah,
it's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, the trailer's grim.
Good.
Timothée Chalamet just does not have like the whimsy of Willy Wonka.
Is he the one that's playing Willy Wonka?
Aye.
Yeah.
A man's a child. Like.
Yeah, but it's a prequel.
It's like an oxymoron there.
It's like how you started the chocolate factory.
Oh, I get you. So it's supposed to be a young Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
There's a podcast I listen to, and they have a reoccurring joke about that movie where they call it Jonka, as in it's like the Joker. It's going to be like the dark reboot of Willy Wonka, and they call it Jonka.
Do you know what I love though? Right, I was looking up the cast list, and apparently Hugh Grant plays an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
that's amazing.
He's in the trailer.
That is actually good.
If you watch the trailer, he's in it.
Is he?
Yeah.
Also, I haven't actually seen. Do you know? I watched part of the trailer, but it was where somebody had superimposed Gonzo from the Muppets over Timothy Chalamet.
In the same sort of like red jacket.
Yeah.
No, there's a line in the trailer where Timothy Chalamet is like, "We're making chocolate, of course," and it's just ridiculous. It's the weirdest delivery I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
Is it a
actually
prequel
can't wait to see it now.
Is it a prequel for Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka or Gene Wilder?
Don't know.
Because if it's Gene Wilder, I'm on board. But it won't be.
Gene Wilder was, although he was still a weird Willy Wonka, because obviously Willy Wonka is supposed to be weird. Johnny Depp's was ridiculous, if anything.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka is a child murderer. Like, let's be honest. Willy Wonka?
Johnny Depp?
No, Willy Wonka.
Yeah. It's pretty dark.
Murders kids.
Why, yeah. Why do you think the chocolate tastes so good? It's a secret ingredient.
Okay.
Hold on. Wait. What?
Am I ever going to get to say it, Stephen, you dick?
Looking at the cast list again, right? Guess who's... I don't know what role he's playing, but Kovna Holdbrook Smith is cast somewhere. If you remember him from... what was it? Rivers of London?
Oh yeah, that's right. Why is that name familiar?
So there you go.
Guys, we gotta do a Jonka podcast.
I don't want to do that, Michael.
Right. Am I safe to say what I'm
Go
considering?
ahead.
How long? What? Nah.
Oh dear, what am I consuming?
My god, Jonathan.
I forgot
so
now.
long to think about it.
I know, no, it's been so long I forgot everything I was going to say. I've been watching Black Mirror from the start, so I haven't seen the new ones yet, but Daniel wanted to, or we're watching, kind of rewatching them for he's never seen them, and then I was like, I know you obviously they're not related but to each other, but I was just, it's such a good show, like I just wanted to rewatch it. So I've been rewatching that. I just watched the one, the one with the gaming headset, and he goes into the haunted house and all. Just a fantastic
I think
episode.
that's my favourite.
Yeah, it's up there now. But yeah, I've been watching that. Still watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I actually seen there that Netflix are supposed to be making a new show for.
Trailer for that, I'm pretty sure as well.
I just seen a. What are you saying, Jason?
I figured our trailer or at least pictures of the live action cast released for that.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it. I don't really like watching trailers because I hate those ones that everything about the movie or the show is in the trailer, and then you go and watch it and you're like, oh, I've already seen this, like, because I watched the trailer.
Oh yes, Spider-Verse sequel looking at you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I've been going to watch for that, and I try and pick up the pace then in time for watching the new Netflix one, whenever that might come out. Obviously, The Witcher just released, I think, the third season there, the last one with Henry Cavill. I haven't started it yet, but I hopefully get it started soon now in the next few days. So as soon as I finish the next few episodes of another show that I'm watching, I'm almost finished the first season of it, called Halt and Catch Fire. So this is actually about the creating. It's actually a computery one. So Stephen, you might be into it. They're basically competing against IBM to create a better computer, a faster computer, and stuff.
Class.
So there's a
What's
lot
that
of
called?
Halt and Catch Fire.
Oh, yeah.
So there's there's basically like a tech side of things, and it's very technical and all. But then there's also the business guy who's just kind of like he's all about closing deals and stuff like that. So it's got a very like. Almost like the show Suits. It's kind of got like that kind of businessy, lawyery kind of side of it as well. So it's quite good. But I'm watching almost finished the first season of that. In terms of watching, listening, we obviously haven't done an episode, and like we usually do one every 2 weeks. And I think it's actually been like 5 or 6 weeks now, to be honest. But obviously,
May.
Yeah, been trying to fill my time. Or my reading time that I would usually listen to whatever book we're reviewing. So I've been listening to so I got that that H.G. Wells collection, and I've already read or listened to the War of the Worlds and The First Man on the Moon. So now the next one is The Time Machine, which I believe has a popular movie as well. So I'm listening to that, and I know it's quite short. So that's the actual book I'm listening to at the minute. And there's also a good course that I've been listening to on that. It's called 12 Essential Scientific Concepts, and it kind of goes through and gives a kind of almost a dumbed down version of like, you know, a lot of big scientific breakthroughs and like the most important kind of discoveries in science in like the last couple of centuries. So it's very, very interesting. And then gaming wise, I have been playing like a strategy game called Rome Total War, if you've heard of the Total War series. Basically just a thing where you kind of create armies and go around murdering people, like, so yeah, they're quite popular games in the strategy world, but yeah, the Rome one is my favourite one, but been playing a lot of that too. But yeah, I think that's everything from me. Keep busy, but also then if we'll move on to plugs, I'll just fill in mind I'm still working on the YouTube videos. So I think I released the episode 8 of my C programming series, and I think it'll be 10 episodes, so almost finish the first season of that, and then I'll maybe move on to a different thing and then come back to that series. Like, I'll kind of jump between different projects for that. But yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to plug at the minute. Do you guys have any plugs?
If anyone wants some proud physio in Glasgow,
Much will that sting me, Jay?
£50 for an hour.
Oh,
Dear.
Hit me up.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things too.
just a couple, Michael.
Just a couple. I'm not going to talk about it, like lots of things. I've just been working on the stories I've talked about before. I'm writing 2 episodes of my other podcast, The Dark Tales, concurrently. I think I said one of them was, I thought it could potentially be novel length. It is now, it's just, I've got one more chapter to write, and it's now 51,000 words to give that a frame of reference.
It's actually became 5 books.
To give that a frame of reference, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is 50,000, so it's just slightly longer than Hitchhiker, so it as book length. I might try to send it out to agents with query letters, and if nothing comes of that, then I'll just record it for the podcast. And the other one I'm writing is called The Ascension. That is 20,000 words at the minute, and it's only got one more chapter to write, so I just have to finish that and then do the rewrites and do the narration for those. So not too far off.
Impressive.
But yeah, that's everything for me.
Anything from you, Steve?
Nah, nothing for me.
Nice. Okay then. That's my hosting done. I'm going to pass it over now to the first time for Jason to host. He'll be doing the next episode, and so he'll be giving his next pick now, so go ahead, Jason.
So yeah, I feel like I touched on this a little bit in the last podcast. I mentioned I was reading a book by Cormac McCarthy called The Road. I think I maybe had just finished it, and it was very bleak, but it was really enjoyable. So I was hoping about maybe trying another one of his books called Blood Meridian, I believe it's pronounced. But since the timing of recording the previous podcast and this podcast, the author, Cormac McCarthy, has since died. Would you like to see the cover? How we look?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Please.
Blood Meridian.
There it is in the group. You can see it.
Okay, yeah. Or evening redness in the west.
To give a description, I guess, for the listener, so the most of it is a red background. So it says the title Blood Meridian, and then underneath that says "or the evening redness in the west." And then there's kind of like a small section, basically the middle of the cover is like a wagon, like a western wagon being pulled like away from the image, and so it's clearly obviously a western setting, as it says in the title as well. So that's kind of all we can really see.
Yeah, it doesn't give much away, I suppose. But any takers?
I mean, to state the obvious, it's, set in the Old West. There's going to be, based on the wagon, the main character or characters are traveling across the the West, and there's a lot of like bandits or something, or some they're gonna get in, shootouts somehow, and there's blood's involved. I don't know.
Basically every Western.
Yeah, just
film ever
Western.
made.
It's a Western.
Okay, stereotypical
know.
Western.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Oh well, hold on.
Can I have a rattle at it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I've also read The Road. That's the only other Cormac McCarthy book I've read. I'm gonna guess that this is set in the Old West. I know that's controversial, but I'm gonna guess that this is about a haggard, old, retired.
Oh, he's going deep.
Sheriff, I'll say. He's hung up his gun. He's out of practice. These bandits or something like that, or some kind of outlaws, come to town causing trouble, causing a ruckus. He's not quite what he was, and basically it's sort of a revenge story, but not necessarily a happy one, or one with a resolution that will favor the protagonist. I would say it's going to be quite a bittersweet Western about a haggard, grizzled old.
I want to change my
sheriff,
answer
yeah.
because I feel like we have to narrow in now that Michael's gone. Like I just said, Western.
You said say very much.
I feel like I need to go much more specific. So I'm going to say it's, if you imagine the film Django, where you've got Dr. King Schultz, right?
That boy pulling the wagon's actually a dentist.
Yeah,
but he's actually a bandit.
I'm going to say it's about a bounty hunter in the Old West.
A bounty hunter?
Bounty hunter in the Old West, yeah.
John.
Okay. Yeah. The evening redness. Michael, what was your guess again? Because I think what I'm thinking might be actually just what you said, but I just want to check.
Michael said a retired old
like
sheriff. There's bandits.
Old sheriff. There's bandits. Okay. Right. I think it's about this lone wolf character, who's basically wandering the West, doesn't quite know his place or where he belongs, and essentially finds somewhere something that he cares. Do you know what a good way to describe it is? The way the Hound does near the end of Game of Thrones, where he's like a character that just hates everyone and doesn't ever kind of belong anywhere, but then he finds a sweet community of people and he starts to care about them, and then they get massacred, and then he goes on a revenge story or a revenge mission. That's kind of my guess.
Good guesses. So yeah, I suppose we'll find out next time.
I hope it's not even about the Old West and it's like Mars or something on the cover.
It's actually these hitchhikers getting picked up by.
It's actually it's a prequel to June.
See, since Jason put the cover onto the chat, all that's going around in my head is, that Simpsons episode, gonna paint this wagon.
It's a musical book.
Yeah.
Well,
that's going to ruin the book for me now. I'm just going to be thinking about gonna paint this wagon.
Could I just give a one little quote I've seen about the book, just to give you a bit of context about what we're jumping into here?
Go for it.
I've seen it described as let me just get it right here, the greatest terrible book ever made.
Oh yes.
Right.
Sounds great.
Might be a bit of a jump away from Hitchhikers.
How long is the book, did you say?
There's going to be no hope or joy.
I think it's 11-12 hours.
Okay. And who's the narrator?
Actually,
He is narrated. Let me double check.
Just go through that again then, Jason, just to finish off. What's the title, the writer, and the narrator?
So, the title of the next book is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, narrated by Richard Poe. It is about 13 hours long.